Hi, this video will present a tutorial on how to create a project planning tool called Gantt Chart. Gantt Chart displays activities or events as a function of time or cost in some cases. Each activity is shown as a horizontal bar with its ends positioned at the starting and ending dates for the activity. So with the help of a Gantt chart, we can track the progress of a project at a specific point of time. This is how a Gantt chart looks like. The x-axis shows the dates and the y-axis shows the task numbers. So each task represents a horizontal bar, and the tasks that are on the left in blue are the ones that are completed, and those on the right, the green ones, are the ones which are remaining. So in this video now we are going to create a Gantt chart for a technical project called Analysis of Helical Savonius Vertical Axis Wind Turbines. This project was divided into several main tasks and subtasks. On the approval of team members, each task and subtask was allotted a specific time period so that the start date and end date was determined. Now let's look at the process of making a Gantt chart.
Step 1. The first step to create a Gantt chart would be open an Excel sheet and create columns as shown. Here we are required to create 8 columns, the first 4 out of which represent the input data that is known to us, while the later 4 represents the data required to create the Gantt chart. In order to create the Gantt chart, the later 4 columns would be working time, days completed, number of days remaining, and days after the start of task. The primary motive to create the Gantt chart is to track the progress of the project by having a visual understanding of each task. The second step is to input the known data. This consists of listing the project tasks along with the start date and the end dates. This is shown in the snapshot of this Excel sheet. The third step would be calculating the required data, that is the later 4 columns. The first column is working time. This is just the difference between end time and the end date and the start date. Thus, in the Excel, we put the formula as D2 minus C2. This, this dates provide us with the answer as 61, which is the working time for the first task. Secondly, we calculate the days after the start of task. This means that the number of days from the start of the task up to the current date. To calculate this number, we are going to use the if condition, because if a task is starting any time in future, then this particular number will turn out to be negative. So the if condition eliminates this possibility. That means a 0 in this column indicates that the task is yet to begin. So to calculate the days after the start of task, the condition is if today's date minus start date is less than or equals to 0, then the answer would be 0, or else the answer would be today's date minus start date. Secondly, we calculate days completed. This also uses the if statement condition. Here the condition would be if days after the start of task is greater than the working time, then the answer is equal to working days, or else the answer is days after the start of task. Here for the first task, we can see that days after the start of task is greater than working time. So the answer in the days completed column is equal to the working time, that is 61. And lastly, we calculate number of days. That is just the difference between working time and days completed. Here for the first task we can see that working time and days completed is the same number. So the answer of number of days remaining is 0. This is the snapshot of the data we have created in Excel. The first four columns represent the input data that is known to us, and the later four represents the data which is required to create a Gantt chart.
Now that we have all the data, the next step is to create the actual Gantt chart. The way we do that is just select the Insert tab, go to Bar Charts and click on the stacked bar. Once the chart is selected, just right click on it and select the option Select Data. That will come up with a window that looks like this, and we are going to add three series of data into this chart, which are start date, days completed, and days remaining. So the way we add these three series of data is that click on the Add button here, and that will come up with a window called Edit Series. Just type the name of the data, which is start date, for example, and select the series of values as shown in this diagram in the dotted box. In the same way, we can add the days completed and the days remaining, so that the three data series have been added into the bar and our chart looks like this. In case of a Gantt chart, the start date is not as important as the days completed or the days remaining, because the start date just gives a position for the duration of the task that we are plotting into the Gantt chart. So we are going to eliminate this start date bars that are in red. The way we do that is just right click the bars and click on Format Series Data, and just select the No Fill option in the Fill tab. That will make the start date bars disappear. Now our next motive is to eliminate this empty space so that the x-axis begins right here where the first task begins. So the way we do that is by setting up the minimum value of x-axis at this point. So just right click on the x-axis and click on the Format Axis option, so that it gives you an option of changing the minimum value of the x-axis. Now as you can see, the start date of the first task is 8/30/2010, but when it goes into Excel, the date is converted into a number. So the Excel always stores a date in terms of a number. You can find out this number by clicking on the start date, change the category of that tab from a date into a number, and it will show you the number. We are required to put this number into the minimum box of the x-axis, and that will eliminate the empty space on the chart. So this is how our chart looks like at this point. Now our final step is that we need to flip the order of the y-axis. A typical Gantt chart has the first task beginning at the top, followed by the others. So we do that by right clicking on the y-axis and selecting the Format Axis option. You will see the option Categories in Reverse Order. Just check the box besides it, and it will flip the option um, on the y-axis. So the tasks will be listed in the reverse order. So this is how the Gantt chart looks like as a finished product of the bar chart. So whenever we change the current date, this line here that where the colors are being changed will shift from left to right or vice versa. So let's look at how the chart behaves when we change the current date. So this is my Gantt chart in Excel. As you can see, the today's date is listed as 12/25/2010. So if I change this date to 12/25 or 12, let's say 12/15/2010, this color shifted from red to green and the current line went on the left. So if I change it again to 09/15, now the current timeline shifted from here to here. So this is a dynamic chart that will show you the progress of each task for your project so that you can track it at any point of time. Thank you for watching our video. See you later. Bye.